pretty bad. The big problem with it was the fact that being from black powder, it soaks up moisture. So pretty soon, if you were a soldier, your mouth would get extremely dry, your sinuses would burn, and it was not uncommon, and I've read a few accounts of this, of soldiers in the middle of battle leaning over, vomiting because of the smoke, and just carrying on. Now the guns are about ready to fire, so there's going to be another kaboom. Well, two of them. The one is just priming, so any second.
Which team do you go for?
For some reason, we seem to be seeing a lot of battles they lost. They won a number.
All right, here they go.
Who wins this battle?
I guess they would say the Americans.
Now you may notice with the number of bodies on the field, a lot of people ask, well, what did they do with the dead dying out on the field? Well, they pretty much left them. One of the things that you would have to do if you were a musician is if the line started to get clogging with the dead and wounded, you reach in, grab them, and just drag them out of the way. So even to this day that lives on, because if you are a musician in the British Army, you're also a trained medic. Now, if you were only wounded enough that you could still walk around, you had to get yourself into the rear of the line to take care of yourself and get to the nearest hospital station. Private George Ferguson of the 100th, he wrote of at Battle of Chippewa, he actually was shot in the arm. He didn't notice it right away. He remembered marching along, and suddenly he dropped his musket. And he looked down and said, "Damn silly thing to do," and then saw blood pouring down his arm. He then walked all the way back to the British wounded wagon, and he got there, and he came up to the orderly, who was a very brash Irishman, as he recalls, and asked him for something to help quench his thirst. Well, the man on the cart simply replied to them, "We only have rum." The problem was, George Ferguson was not just a soldier, he was a Presbyterian lay minister and did not drink. So he asked, "Do you not have any water?" The Irishman pointed at the Chippewa River. And as George Ferguson puts it, "'Twas the only time I saw benefit to drinking of spirits." Now, as we reach coming up towards the end of the battle here, the Battle of Lundy's Lane ended in an interesting way. Unlike most battles in which an enemy retreats into the darkness or skulks away, the Battle of Lundy's Lane ended with both sides kind of pulling back. The British pulled back after their final bayonet assault to try to reorganize, get their troops in order, prepare for one final push. And as they were preparing for it, they took quite some time. In the darkness and in the smoke, the American command presumed that they had abandoned their assaults on the heights, but the Americans had suffered such tremendous casualties, it was decided that they too would abandon Lundy's Lane. So they fell back, taking one captured gun with them, a British 6-pounder, and retreating back to Chippewa. The British then pushed forward to capture those heights to discover it was empty, and most of their guns were still there. So the British rejoiced, believing that they had chased away the Americans from the heights. And wouldn't you know it, they even captured an enemy gun. For in their haste, the Americans hooked up that British 6-pounder to capture it, and left behind one of their own 6-pounders. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Soldier's Lament, a tradition of most of these reenactments, to remember that although this is a hobby that many of us have a lot of fun at, we have to remember that not for one moment is this something resembling play. We're representing individuals who fought, bled, and died on this very ground, and if we ever forget that, may we be cursed for it. So, as you go about today, I just want to remind you of a few things. Please do not forget that at 8 o'clock tonight, we will be having our night assault of the fort. It is the biggest battle we are going to be doing, but more importantly, afterwards, we will be having our after the battle tours, which are not to be missed.